All right, moving on to my final AFC East team, my bitter rivals, the New York Jets. Obviously, like I said before, the goal is to make them as scary as possible, and I felt that I really did that. Obviously, some of these picks could be going to Green Bay in an Aaron Rodgers trade, but we don't know if that's really happening yet. So we acted as if it has not happened. And with my first pick, the 13th overall pick, I took Peter Skoronski at a Northwestern. We don't know the real situation with Mekhi Becton. George Fant is like a million years old, and they're going to need another offensive tackle at some point. They want to be able to run the ball. Go get somebody who showed that he's probably the most technically proficient offensive lineman in this class. Up next, I took a linebacker. I believe I've taken him for another team, but if he falls to 44, it's an absolute steal. I took Jack Campbell. I figured,
Yes.
CJ Mosley, obviously not the guy that you're like really hoping for down the stretch, especially with this team that you're hoping to be ascending. And teams with 49ers defenses rely on linebackers. We see how the 49ers operate with Fred Warner. I figure let's go out and get this team somebody who can play coverage and play a lot of different spots. And that was the goal of my next pick as well. Not a linebacker, but somebody who can play a lot of different spots. I believe Luke picked them earlier, but I think this fit is just too perfect. They already traded for Chuck Clark. Rumor is on the street they're going to want another safety. I took Sidney Brown with the third round pick for the Jets. I think, again, another perfect fit. We just talked about how 49ers defenses would love a guy like Sidney Brown, especially with the way that Talanoa Hufanga is maximized in for San Francisco. Go out and get a guy who can play a similar role. Up next, fourth round pick. I figured you might be losing Corey Davis this offseason. And that means that you're going to need a big body receiver. And there's a big body receiver in this class. There aren't many, but somebody who was there in the fourth round at pick 113. And I figured can fit that kind of role, especially if you're going to use him, somewhat often, is A.T. Perry. I mean, people had him, he was really highly touted coming into the season. A lot of people saw that the measurables were great, but a lot of the athleticism and stuff was not exactly where they wanted it to be. But at the same time, you're getting a guy who just has, freakish traits and freakish things that you can't teach. So going out and getting someone like him, at the very least at his size, he should be able to be a good blocker, which is something that, a San Francisco type offense or whatever they're going to be running with Nathaniel Hackett, something necessary. Last pick, I figured, they just re-signed Quincy Williams. They're looking to re-sign Quinnen Williams. And I figured, let's just go get another rotational guy just in case. I got Byron Young at Alabama. I figured going out and getting another, defensive lineman, somebody who you can just keep rotating in there. The whole idea with these schemes is that they just want to rotate bodies up front and they don't want a big drop off. So being able to go out, spend big money on, Quinnen Williams, hopefully to bring him back, and then have somebody that you hope can just be a stalwart alongside him. I figured Byron Young has a high enough ceiling and honestly a high enough floor that 145 might be a steal.
Yeah, I'm a big Byron Young guy. We went over this, I believe, last time. I'm big on both Byron Youngs. Great year to be named Byron Young. But it's, the Jets are an interesting case because things are probably going to change with them. But if they don't, and they're already being like, hey, we need to compete now, what's the move? Are they going to try and get Lamar? Like, what is the real move there if Aaron Rodgers falls through? It's an interesting situation in New York, and it feels like it always is with both the Giants and the Jets.